What's up guys, and welcome back to another episode of Career Mode. It is episode number 47. We are back with a brand new season, our 6th year at Portman Road getting underway today. After winning our first ever major honour in club history, returning to the Champions League, this year targeting the treble, our budget for Season 6 is going to be... where is it? £214 million. Mega. Yep, obviously, last season we were winners of the Europa League. I said in that competition we were firm favourites to win it. I really believe we were the best of the bunch, and we ended up proving that by going all the way to win our first major honour in the save and 4th in club history. And so heading into the new season with that monster transfer budget, which we were expecting as well. Obviously, you know, it's a ridiculous team. I mean, it's a crazy team. The first 11 is fantastic. There isn't really a weak spot. We've now added to the depth of the team as well. And of course, a few of our loan players have come back. I'll try and loan out a load of these young players that are still here just to get them to first team football so they can develop. But really, I don't know what to do with that money. I mean, I really don't. It's a ludicrous budget. You know, we're about a fifth of a way to $1 billion, which is mental. Over a fifth away, actually. And I mean, we don't really need to sign anyone. That's the ironic thing. Back in Season 1, that would have done wonders. Now, not so much. I guess we could possibly flirt with the idea of maybe, we have discussed it, selling one of Jacob Greaves or Jake O'Brien and bringing in a new world-class CB alongside Anafia. We don't really need to do that after having the best defensive record last season. We could maybe bring in a new winger with Koleosho or Mudryk. Possibly could be improved upon. But again, really, it's want, not need. And of course, once we advance today in the calendar, we will see Mumba leave as well. I've never understood why it sometimes, well, oftentimes it takes a day for a player to leave in the transfer window. I don't quite understand it. But anyway, came here in Season 1. First signing the save, lest we forget, from Plymouth Argyle. But just a squad player now, and off to the Eredivisie on a free transfer. Totally fine with that as a Europa League winner. Thank you and farewell, Mr. Mumba. So, looking at the squad in the squad hub here, there are some contract players, players who had their contract coming at the end of the season, which we will try and negotiate new deals for. But for the most part, we're okay. You know, the squad's looking good. We don't really have that many issues with it, like we said a moment ago there, and it just becomes about, you know, where do we want to improve the world-class talent, on the world-class talent, I should say, to get someone even more world-class. And you'd probably say, well, possibly you could sell Bay, maybe Amari Hutchinson. I believe they've both got their deals that come the end of the year, and again, bring in someone who does have world-class ability. But I mean, it's like, we don't need to. You know, we really don't. This team is incredible. How has Moses not had a potential upgrade? Are you kidding me, EA? After last season, his end to the campaign, really? Come on. But yeah, I'm definitely thinking, I'm going to sign someone. Don't get me wrong, I will bring someone in. But I don't really know. As Nicholas Price comes back with the exciting prospect tag, we'll try and loan him out once again. I really don't know. At this point, it could be anyone. And in terms of players, their deals are coming to the end of the year. You've got Dizelle, Clark, Humphreys, Joey Jones, Bay, Washington, Shangela, and Fry as well. Oh, and Sam Jeffrey too. Oh, and Dylan Bates too. But honestly, I mean, the young players here, Fry is definitely going to get a new deal, no doubt about it, because I think he's probably one of the better young prospects we have got in the team. So I'm definitely going to give him a new deal at 21 years old and still getting better. I'll give Joey Jones a new deal. That's our backup goalkeeper, the Canadian. He's still growing a little bit, but growing slowly. But now that Fraser Forster is gone, we do need a backup goalkeeper. I will obviously give Cameron Humphreys and Dizelle new deals. That's so they can meet the squad registration rules for us. So Humphreys and Dizelle will both sign extensions. And as for Washington, this is the big call. The president, does he get a new deal? Well, if he agrees a rotational squad role, and you'll be seeing on the screen right now, then the answer is yes. If he reduces his requested minutes, then yes. If he still wants to be important, I don't know if I can give in to him now, with the injuries, and of course Georgie and Adley, now our normal strike duo. That is a big call. Tough one. Really tough, because again, you know, 84 overall and still getting better. But last season, the duo that I found the most success with was Adley and Georgie. Unfortunately, Adley, of course, had his injury problems, but Georgie did as well. I mean, to be fair, all four of them had their injury problems. But really, I think the only way I could make this work is if I asked Georgie to go and play on the wing, which we flirted with the idea before, and I did start him there a couple of times last season. So change him to a winger. And then have one of Koleosha or Mudryk coming off the bench. That's really the only way I could see me keeping hold of David and still playing him enough times as well. So it'd be David and Adley together with the lap off the bench. That's really the only way I could see this working. But I'm not sure. It's a difficult one. It's a very difficult one. And what's going to make it even harder for him to get the game time is the fact that my number one target is a player that will be definitely starting in our front four. Yet, when they got relegated last season, I knew there was at least one of their players I was going to bring in, as they had some fantastic talent. And as Nottingham Forest go down to the Championship, I don't think this guy should be staying there with them. Yep, he is the England prospect, balling out in the Bundesliga with Borussia Dortmund. Jamie Bynoe-Gittens left England at a young age to join the German side, like several other players have done. He's rapid, with great stamina, excellent technical ability with 90 finishing, 89 dribbling, 82 ball control, and also 4-star skill moves and 4-star weak foot as well. Quite frankly, this guy is far too good to be sitting in the Championship. So let's bring him in. Thomas Tuchel's got a head of a talent there, and I'm going to get him here at Portman Road as well. Absolute baller. I've used him once before. I used him last season, and man, his stats are incredible and fit our play style perfectly. So I'm going to bring him in, but I'm going to do is say to Nuno, why don't you take Bay? Bay is a Championship level player. He's out of contract coming the end of the season, and that should soften the transfer fee a little bit as well. So we'll go 60 mil. That's 60 grand. Bay's a good player, but I think 60 grand plus Bay is a bit of an insult. Thank goodness I didn't quickly submit that offer. 60 mil plus the South Korean, and they say no, they do want him, which I really like as well, because when they're doing a rebuild in the second tier, Bay is the sort of player that would fit them perfectly, man. And we like Bay, brought him in season 1, but unfortunately, injury problems and the fact other players have now surpassed him means he only really plays in garbage time now. But 65 mil plus the South Korean, we're going back and forth. We should see meet somewhere in the middle here. 67.5 plus Bay, and Nuno says yes. Bay going back to the Championship, Jamie coming back to the Premier League, and what a signing this is going to be. Yes, in recent years we've seen quite a few English players leave to Borussia Dortmund at an early age, whether it's Jadon Sancho, the Golden Boy Jude Bellingham, or this man Jamie Bynoe-Gittens. Dortmund have a fantastic record of bringing in young talent, developing them into star players, and then selling them on for a profit. I don't know what they got from Nottingham Forest, but what Nottingham Forest have got is a decent fee from us plus a decent player, but in return we are getting a superstar. Yep, he was my number one target for the new season. I'm glad to have him in for the first time in FC25. Used him in, I think it was a Fulham career mode last year, or maybe a Reading career mode, can't remember which one, but he was born in Reading, but now he's going to be balling out in East Anglia. Yep, absolutely buzzing, coming in on a 5-year, 100 grand a week deal, returning back to the Premier League and going into the Champions League with the ambitions of winning both this season alongside an FA Cup. Welcome to Portman Road. Jamie Bynoe-Gittens. Yep, massive fan of this kid. Really, really awesome talent. And again, with Dortmund's reputation of developing those young players, honestly, when I see an English player go to Borussia Dortmund now, I'm like, good for our national team, because I know they're going to develop their game brilliantly at the Signal Iduna Park. Would Jude Bellingham be the same player he is right now at Real Madrid if he didn't have his stint at Borussia Dortmund? I'm not too sure. And Jamie Bynoe-Gittens' development in the save has been fantastic. 85 overall now, just 24. I'm surprised his growth appears to be held, but I'm pretty sure with consistent first-team football this season in good form, I still think I can get him into the high 80s as well. So I think I'll try and get that weak foot up to 5-star. That's going to be very important, because I don't know whether I'll play him on the left side or the right side, but I think come the end of the season, he'll be 86 rated. And no doubt about it, he's a star player, and at 24, he's only getting better. Yeah, to have a winger with a 5-star weak foot, honestly, it's one of the most underrated assets you can have, because it means that if you're like me and you like to cut inside and shoot with your wingers, whether they hit it with the left or the right, it doesn't matter what preferred foot they are, they're still going to hit it sweetly with a 5-star weak foot. So it's one of my sort of like big tips, if you will. Develop a winger's 5-star weak foot as quick as you can. You never want a winger with like a 1-star weak foot, like a Michel Bastos, and there's a throwback for my older viewers. But I think it's going to be difficult, really. Koleosho or Mudryk, who drops to the bench now? I mean, they're both great wingers. Mudryk scored in that Europa League final. Koleosho, as we know, is still only in his early to mid-20s now. I think you'd probably say Mudryk, but I really like the Ukrainian. But I think coming off the bench with the pace he's got, that might do him some good as well. I think that's probably where I'll start Jamie, on that right flank. I don't know whether you guys follow Versus on Instagram. It's one of my favourite Instagram pages. But they do this like woke up thinking about series in their posts, where it's like they'll throw out a cult name like woke up thinking about Hugo Rodallega, and they'll do some like cold pictures from throughout his career, or woke up thinking about I don't know, Floren Malouda, for example, just a cult figure from back in the day. I'm waiting for them to do a woke up thinking about Michel Bastos post. Looking forward to that. But anyway, 141 million in the budget now. And honestly, I've got my number one target. The side's got an even better, even more quality to it. Genuinely, I don't know what to do with the remaining money. We don't really need to do anything. I mean, again, we could possibly sign a new world-class CB, but Onana's taken to the CB role like a fish to water, so we don't really need to sign one. Maybe a backup goalkeeper, but what's the point? Bulka doesn't get injured or suspended. I mean, I think we're done. Oh, and by the way, as for our board objectives this season, this is really interesting, but domestically, last year it was win the title, and this year it's just finished top 4. I said before, you very rarely see your objectives get reduced heading into a new season, but there you go. After Arsenal's win last season, the board's saying top 4 will do us fine, but of course I'm going for the title, win the FA Cup. We still haven't reached a Final 4 place yet at Wembley, but as for the Champions League, back in it, reached a final. And honestly, those are my aims as well. I want to reach that Champions League final for sure. I'd love to go all the way, but I definitely think after 2 years going into the semis, we're good enough for a final place. And in the domestic objectives, I'm going for a domestic double. And I'm going for a treble, really. But I'm definitely aiming for a domestic double, League and Cup, and also a European final as well. I've got a taste for it now. We got to the European final last season. Now I've had a taste of that experience. I want to do it every year. Every single season, I want to be in a European final. And this is an interesting one. Bid from Frankfurt for Mudryk. Of course, we took out Eintracht Frankfurt in the Europa League last season. They want to give us Aaron Hickey to bolster our fullback options. It's actually not a bad deal, all things considered. But I don't know how I'm going to keep the Ukrainian happy here, knowing that we've now brought in Jamie, but scored in that Europa League final. Since he's come in, he's done a really decent job as well. So I don't want to sell him, man. I want to keep him here and make sure he stays and gets the game time. How I fit all of my players into this system, how I give them all game time, I have absolutely no idea. I'm going to still sell Dylan Bates, one of our young players, and have that much potential, but it's going to be tough. It's going to be a challenge keeping everyone happy this season. So what can I say? I like a challenge. I like a good challenge, and yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely a way to do it. It's going to be hard. I do wonder whether we might be able to do like second units this season. So, for example, we have like a Champions League, as Lille put in a big bid for Adam Wharton there as well. 79.5 mil, but he's become a regular starter in our team after signing him last season. It's going to be, again, tough to keep him and James Garner happy alongside Morgan, but in the prime of his career right now, he's going nowhere. Yeah, I was thinking maybe what we could do this year is maybe have like a Champions League and Cup squad, and then a Premier League squad, if you will. As we know, so many games to squeeze in when you're fighting on multiple fronts. That's probably one of my only ways I can think of keeping everyone happy. We have a Champions League and Cup unit, and then a unit that regularly play in the Premier League. And there'll be a bit of a crossover, but yeah, for the most part, as Leverkusen put in with Nicholas Price, it's going to be one team plays in one competition and one team plays in the other. So quick sale as Bates is off to Turkey. You don't need the cash, but it reduces the squad size as we've got an overload of players here. And as for two of our youngsters wanted on loan, We've got Nicholas Price now wanted by FC Utrecht, so we'll try and get him out on loan there to the Netherlands. The Wonder Kid, never forget, he's the youngest goal scorer in Premier League history now, at 16 in just a handful of days. And as for Donald Davis, the young Trinidad and Tobago, you know, I'm finding this year it's harder to loan players out without a buy clause. Oftentimes when you propose that option, the team will say no. This time, frankly, they say yeah, but that's one thing I'm finding why it's harder to loan your players out this year. Oftentimes the clubs will only accept a loan deal if they're able to buy them afterwards as well. Oof, and that's a very interesting one. Now, I did say I was considering selling him in this year, and now we've brought in Jamie. I certainly wouldn't be against it. Omari Hutchinson, one of the OGs, wanted by Liverpool, who last season finished mid-table and are looking for a bit of a rebuild there. I wouldn't be against that, you know. I mean, we love Omari, but how many minutes is he going to see this season in our overloaded squad? That's a tough one now, but Liverpool, the thing is, Liverpool have become a bit of a rival of ours now in the save, you know, and I don't tend to do business with my rivals at all, and now Liverpool have sort of become one. It's a difficult one. I mean, I'm sure Omari would love to go to Anfield more first-team football. He's not going to get many minutes here this season, but if that was someone like Newcastle, I'd probably let him go, but not to one of my rivals, man. Me and Arnie now have got beef. Is Omari still growing as well? Is he still getting a little bit better? He's not. You know, again, if that was someone like Manchester United who finished 8th, or Newcastle, or maybe West Ham would be a good fit. I'd probably say yeah, but it's a bit of a rule I have in my saves. You don't have to implement this in yours if you don't want to, but I do find it's quite realistic. When you've got a rival, we've obviously turned Liverpool into a rival since the save began, but when you've got a rival team, my rule of thumb is you don't do business with them. I mean, maybe on like a very rare exception you could consider it, but it's something to, again, make the game a bit more realistic, but also a bit more challenging as well when they've got players of yours that you might want. But yeah, Liverpool have become our main rivals in the save. Now we've turned them into that. So if it's Manchester United, if it's West Ham, if it's Newcastle, top 10 team, I'll consider it. But it can't be our main rivals, man. Me and Arnie, we're never going to do business. Loving what he's doing there, by the way, at Liverpool, have to say. I mean, honestly, like, to replace the great Jurgen Klopp. Would you call Jurgen Klopp a Liverpool legend now? I think you've got to, right? I really do. Splitting the Man City titles, but also Champions League and that first Premier League in history for Liverpool. In the Premier League era, I should say. You know, I think you've got to consider Klopp a Liverpool legend now, right? It's difficult when you consider some of the names he's alongside, but I think so. In this modern era, I think he's a Liverpool legend now. But what a start for Arne Slot, though. Like, seriously, he's been brilliant since coming in there. Played some great football, and they've been a great watch, Liverpool, this year, I must say. Whether they win the title or not, I guess we will see. But there we go, Marcus Randall out on loan as well, as we continue to get our young players more first-team football out on loan. This is going to take some time, this summer window, just loaning out all our players. But another one is out. Ooh, and a big bid for Georgie. 46.7 mil from Bologna. Wanted to take him to the Serie A. Now, I had absolutely no plans whatsoever to sell him. But, you know, I mean, the only way I could see David staying is if one of he or Ali left. And we're obviously not going to sell Double A. He's turned into our big club icon now. But that's an interesting one. Because, you know, David is not that much worse than Georgie. I mean, they're about the same, really, in terms of their statistics, and he's also 4 years younger as well, plus taller. Do you know, it's a one and done for Georgie? Maybe, but then we don't need to sell him, that's the thing. Yeah, we ain't got to sell him. But we don't have to if we don't want to. I mean, the only thing I was thinking what we could do is sell Georgie and then bring in, you know, an even better Georgian talent, Kvaratskhelia, who's still at Napoli. Although Napoli, of course, did qualify for the Champions League last year, like us. So I don't know if he'd want to move away from Naples to come to Ipswich. Yeah, Ipswich is a nice place, but yeah, I'm not too sure he'd agree to that deal. But yeah, we don't need to sell him. We don't need to sell him. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I really don't. David, Mudryk, Koleosho, you know, Washington, Georgie. I mean, the list goes on of our offensive pieces here. I don't know how on earth I'm going to fit them all into the squad, but I got to find a way. I got to find a way. I don't want to see any of them go. Even Amari, I don't want to see go. I've just got to find a way to keep them all happy. How I do it, I don't know, but we'll figure it out. Well, speaking of happiness, Victor Christiansen, obviously, who's been one of our best players since we signed him. What a budget buy. Probably the budget buy to save, really. He's not happy with his contract, and he's on 50 grand a week. It's a ridiculous amount of money compared to us mere mortals. But yeah, I think now he's become one of the best fullbacks in the world. Dual-sided, lest we forget, he probably deserves a new contract. I mentioned before, you don't have to do this if you don't want to. It's a great way to keep the save more realistic, and I guess a little bit more challenging as well. Victor definitely deserves a pay increase, no doubt about that, as our club stature has risen and our finances have gotten better as well. Clearly, with the starting budget we had, I think he definitely deserves to be on a little bit more money. So I'm actually going to up that to 70 grand a week, which I think even in modern day football is probably a little bit light. But hey, I'm sure he won't mind. A $250,000 bonus as well. And wow, okay, 81. Wow, I did not expect that, but okay, fair enough. 80 grand a week, Victor. 80 grand. I'd say that's fair in the modern market. And he says, yeah, Christiansen will be staying. And I might go into Ghana as well. Yeah, James is on 37 grand a week. But what I really want to do with 2 years left in his deal is ask him to take a rotational squad role, because now that Adam Wharton's come in, I kind of split the game time between he and Morgan Gibbs-White. But if James would agree a rotational squad role, that would do me a big favour, to be honest, knowing that it's another player that I really want to give the game time to, but it's hard to squeeze everyone in and keep them all happy. So let's see if James would agree a rotational squad role. Even important, I would take. And yeah, it's a slight reduction. It's a slight reduction, so he won't complain as much. Just an extra 1 year there, and I'll give him a bit more money as well. He'll still want to feature in the majority of games, but now not every single game. So anything I can do to convince players to take lower squad roles is going to really, really help me when it comes down to, let's go 60 grand a week. Go on, that's an even number there, to keep everyone happy. So 60 grand a week. Takes a slight reduction in squad role, and that's another player who'll be happy with a little bit more time on the bench. And now let's try and do the same with Mykhailo Mudryk as well, who again, even at 28, is still getting better and will turn 84. I think probably before the new season even starts. But yeah, scoring that Europa League final, he's become a bit of a fan favourite here. And let's see if I can convince him to go from crucial to important. And again, it still means he's going to be asking to start the majority of games. What it does mean is that he's unlikely to be requesting a transfer if he misses out the occasional game. I'd love him to take rotation, but I doubt he will. No, but important. But it's still a slight reduction in his expected minutes. So anything helps. At this point, anything helps to keep a player happy, knowing he can't start every single game. Let's give him a 10 grand a week increase in his wage for the decision to take a reduction, and he agrees with that too. And the last player I'll ask is Luka Warwick-Koleosho. He's also got 2 years left in his deal, only 24, still getting better as well. Had his injury problems last season, but if I can convince him to go on rotation, that would help absolutely massively at solving our front four dilemma. But I don't know if he'll be okay with that. No, still wants importance. With that being the case, I could just give him a wage increase, but if I can't reduce his squad role, I'm going to say no. I need players to buy in to the vision here at Ipswich Town. There's a lot of us, but we're a team, man. I can't play everyone all at once. It's just not possible. I'm going to turn down that Georgie bid. Honestly, I'm ready for the season to start. I'm ready for the season to start, man. We've brought in Jamie. We've got our number one target. I'm loaning out my youth players as Nicholas Price is back out on loan again. I'm not ready to give up on the Wonder Kid, man. We talk about all the attacking pieces we've got. Don't forget about this guy, youngest Premier League goal scorer in history. We're not giving up on him. We just need to get him more first team football and more development as well. He's just not going to grow quickly enough being here, game time or not. As a bid comes in for Onana as well. West Ham putting in a swap deal, offering us a natural centre-half in Konsa, but of course going to turn that one down there. Onana is taken to the CB role like a fish to water, man, honestly. And I mentioned before, it's just so frustrating how, like, you can't convert him to CB naturally, even though that's where he plays. It makes no sense. And I've seen some people say it's because if they have that position as a secondary position, you don't need to convert them there. But Onana doesn't have that. He's got CDM and CM, not CB. So I can convert him if I want to a right winger. But not on the left wing, that would be terrible. No. I convert him to right wing, but I can't convert him to left wing, you know. Makes no sense. And I think you could possibly do it in stages by giving him the centre-half role. But it's like, what do you mean centre-half role? He's been playing centre-half for the past 3 years. Like, it makes no... This is the lack of intelligence from EA. They really, really need to work on. My opinion is this. If you are playing a player in that position, they should be able to kind of like grow that naturally, if you will. Do you know what I mean? If they've spent that time, like in Football Manager, for example, the longer you play a player in that position, the quicker they'll become accomplished in the role or a natural in the role. And yes, you can also change it in training roles as well, but also through game time too. For EA, no matter how many times you play a player in a different position, they can't develop into that unless you change it via the development plans. But now, you can't always change it by the development plan. And there's 2 players leave, Ocampo on loan and Jeffrey permanently. How about this? Khan wanted by Barrow. But also, the title winners, the champions, Arsenal, putting in a bid for Gonzalo Inafio, our club record signing, who was our first man on 100 grand a week, who scored 3 goals last season and was sublime. The Gunners willing to give us Gabriel Martinelli, another world-class winger, but Mikel Arteta, it could be a good deal, but I'm turning it down, man. If we're to have any chance of dethroning Arsenal, we can't sell them our best defender in what was a phenomenal defensive season last year. I'm sorry, Gonzalo, but you might want to join the champions, but we want to become the champions. You're going nowhere. Yeah, if we weren't a Champions League side, I would definitely consider that. But of course, now we've become a CL side. We've won a European honour, albeit Europa League. And this year, of course, we're going for that title as well. AZ Alkmaar want Joey Jones on loan. I'd be fine with that. I will need to sign a new backup goalkeeper if that's the case, but I'm not ready to give up on this guy. Yeah, I'm really not. 68, 20 years old, but again, that's what I mean. I'm finding it harder to loan players out this year because a lot of clubs are only interested in loaning your players if they can buy them later down the line. Oh, mate, but this is a disaster. No! You know, there are very few clubs I think we have to accept bids from now because of the fact we've risen in stature so much. But it is very hard to stand in a player's way when this club comes calling. Biggest club in the world? I mean, let's be honest here, if they're not, they're certainly top 3. And we might have become a Champions League team ourselves. But these guys have won the Champions League more than every other team. Real Madrid. I can't say no. I can't say no. There are very few clubs now, genuinely, who I think we can hold at bay and convince our players to stay here. I mean, even Man City, after their struggles last season, finishing outside the top 4, even Arsenal, who finished above us, will be competing with for the title this season. But these guys, I don't think you can stand in a player's way when they come calling, can you? Ipswich Town or Real Madrid? I think there's only one answer. I'm going to say to Carlo, though, listen, he's been the heartbeat of our team. He came in at the start of Season 2. He bought in to the long-term vision, and he's one of the fan favourites here. If you want him, we want a decent fee, and that's going to be, even approaching 30, I would say £70 million. If you can give us 70 mil, 25 mil over the market valuation, you got my blessing, mate. What? Hang on, isn't that less than they just put a bid in for? Are you serious? I must have misseen it. Okay, the tension bar hasn't filled up much, to be fair, so we still should be able to squeeze out a bit more. £67.5 million. I'm devastated, but I can't stand in his way. Would always love you, Morgan. I called him the first domino because he's the man that started it all. He brought into the long-term vision back in Season 2 and literally was the heartbeat of our team for all these years, developing into a world-class side. First, he was a second striker, then an attacking mid, then a winger, and then a box-to-box. In this team, he was the ultimate team player. And I always say it, in my team, you're going to get rewarded for loyalty. And the reward he's got is a dream move to one of the biggest, if not the biggest club in world football. I said it, there's not many teams we wouldn't sell to now. But Morgan Gibbs-White wanting to go to Real Madrid. Come on. Can I really stand in his way after all his years of service? Absolutely not. We'd always love him though. Farewell, Mr. Gibbs-White. Club record sales, £67.5 million as the 29-year-old joins Jude Bellingham as the next Galactico at the Bernabeu. Yeah, for me, if you've shown me loyalty, I'm going to show it right back. That is gutting. No plans whatsoever to see him leave. I want him to retire as a tractor boy. Yeah, maybe one day he could still come back, but can't stand in his way. Got to be fair and repay that loyalty. We'll always love you, Morgan. But that is still absolutely gutting, man. So I guess now you ask the question, you know, where does that leave us, really? I mean, obviously, you know, James Garner is not much worse, and he is a year younger as well. You know, obviously Adam Wharton has now become a starter in this team at CM. We can play Flynn Downs there at times as well, but the thing I loved about Gibbs-White is that he literally just never ran out of energy. I mean, he literally had so much stamina. The guy just never ever got tired. And we don't have to sign a new CM, but now when you see what that's done to our budget, it's like, I mean, if there was ever a time to bring in a superstar central midfielder, with the money we've now got, rising back to basically our original budget on the back of that club record sale, I mean, you got to say, it's got to be done right now, surely. And there's obviously a lot of names we could bring in for this position, and several of which on the shortlist that will do a fantastic job. Do you know I've never signed either Bellingham brother before? I've never had either. Joey Ward Jr., I never had either, but I love how Jude's younger brother is now at Dortmund alongside him as well, trying to follow in that career path. And with the stamina he's got, I mean, he'd literally be perfect for us, but I have to say, based on the other players that are available on this list here, and some world-class talent as well, there's players at teams that are in, you know, lesser positions than Borussia Dortmund are right now as a Champions League side. Players that are championship level, players that are Premier League level playing in the championship. And there's several players who I think would be absolutely perfect to replace Morgan Gibbs-White right through the heart. But if there's one man who is one of the most common signings you can make in career mode, but again, I have never had before. I've never signed him before, despite his superstar potential. It is this man right here, Warren Zaire-Emery, of course, out of PSG Academy with the ridiculous stats, versatile, box-to-box, can play in a range of positions with 92 stamina. I mean, he is the upgrade on Morgan Gibbs-White. A jack of all trades with ridiculous energy. He's a Doxy boy sort of player with tremendous technicals too. And at Molineux right now, as a bottom half Premier League side, come on, this guy's a superstar and needs to be playing in the Champions League. Never had him before, I'm bringing him in. Yep, you can call it an overused player in career mode, but I've never used him once before. So, I mean, this will be the first time I've ever had him. And, you know, I don't normally go after the biggest wonder kids in CM. I like to develop my own, of course, but the truth is, like, I have this kind of rule where I try not to sign players I've used before, if not more than one time. I used Jamie for the first time last year. I've only ever used him once. I had used Gibbs-White before, but I'd only ever used him once. I try and go after players I've never used before, and Warren is a player that I've never, ever signed in all my time playing career. I mean, I've only really had the 2 chances but in the last 2 career modes, but now I'm going to bring him in because it just fits like a glove. He's at Wolves right now, and granted he's getting first team football, but he's too good to be playing Premier League football and no European football at all. 125 mil, Wolves aren't going to hold me to ransom because they know this guy is a superstar and should be playing prime-time football in the Champions League. And for £130 million, Gary won't stand in his way. Warren is off to Portman Road. Yes, when it comes down to signing new players in career mode, I do try and go after players I've never used before. And thus, whilst he is one of the most common Wonder Kids signings you can make in career mode this year, I've never had him. not just in FC 25, but 24 and FIFA 23 as well, where I believe he was first in the game. I've never signed him, I've never used him, I've never had him once in any of my teams, in any of my saves, and that is why I'm so buzzing to try him for the first time ever, because he is just that, an absolute wonder kid, balling out with Paris Saint-Germain and the French national team, but in the save, moving on to Wolves for reasons we don't know, but far too good to not be playing in prime time, and now he will, coming to Portman Road on a 5-year, 130 grand a week deal. I literally can't wait to see if he's worth the hype, as I see everyone using him, and now I get to use him for the first time ever. Welcome to East Anglia, Warren Zaire-Emery. And again, as a Morgan Gibbs-White replacement, he's literally the perfect player because he's versatile. You know, he's got stats in all the right areas. He's green everywhere. I mean, this guy with a 4-star weak foot 2, with the energy he's got, he literally is Morgan Gibbs-White 2.0. He's taken his number and hopefully it'll be just as good. And with the stats he's got, I can play him further forward, I can keep him at CM, I can play him on the wing, wherever. He's going to be balling out in this team, no doubt about that. I literally cannot wait to use him and see if he's worth the hype, man. I literally can't wait. He'll be through the middle alongside Adam, and I'm so excited, man, genuinely. And on the back of that blockbuster, shell-shocking departure and signing, our budget now dropping down to 72 million, but still having cash to work with. And I don't think we're done for signings either. I could still another blockbuster deal happening before the end of the window. And I think we'll do it for the season opener, guys. We'll do an old school Docs episode, a transfer special for the first episode of a new season, and save the first games of the campaign for the next one, where we'll have the Super Cup against last year's Champions League winners AC Milan, our first time playing it. We'll have our first Premier League games against Chelsea and Manchester United. Tough start to the new season with ambitions of winning the title, the remainder of the window, and we'll have the draw for the league phase of the Champions League too. Have a fantastic day, guys. Much love to you all, and I'll see you for part 2 of the summer transfer window, where I still think there's something blockbusters are going to happen, and our first games of the campaign very soon.